You're on.
Good evening and welcome to the Budget Committee meeting of October the 12th, I believe we're at, 7 p.m. Welcome all. We'll start with roll call, please.
All right, Sabrina Alberg.
Here.
Christia Claire.
Here.
Catherine Consalvo. Sierra Dulce. Julie Hammond. Liz Costa.
Here.
Mike Mascola.
Here.
Sue Sherman.
Here.
Karen White. Here. Mark Sherwood.
Here.
We have a quorum, yes?
Yes.
Just want to make sure we do.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Julie will be here a little late. She's in the call.
And we'll add her in, Carrie, when she arrives. Pledge of Allegiance. Sabrina, would you like to lead us in the pledge?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all. All right, we've got some minutes in front of us to start with, I believe. We have minutes, regular meeting, I believe just one set, right? September 28th at 7 o'clock. I'll listen to a motion to put it on the floor.
I'll make a motion to accept the meeting minutes as printed.
Need a second? Thank you for Sabrina. I did want to point out on page 3 of 6, near the bottom, where it says Sue Sherman, requests the committee to ask any clarification questions that come to them during the presentations. She also noted that at any time, the committee can request the department head back in for clarification or additional questions on their budget. I want to emphasize, if you have questions, you can ask them, in my feeling, at any time, and we will get them addressed if we can right now, and if not, and we need the department head to come back in, we will. So feel free. Email them to me, email them to Maria, and copy me if you wish to do it that way. But please don't feel you can't, there is no stupid question about getting clarification of what's this mean, what's this line mean, and we will do our level best to get that. Happily to pass those along. So I just want to emphasize that one more time to you. We're here to discuss, we're here to be collegially in discussion about how this all gonna go, okay? All right, we have a motion on the floor. Any corrections or additions to the minutes that anyone wishes to make? If not, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor? Looks like it's unanimous from those that are here. So I will ask for any opposed or abstaining. Catherine abstains. Okay? And you're adding her to the attendance. Thank you, kiddo. I wanted to point out a couple of things. Also in your packet, that is, I guess, correspondence because it's things that came to us. But Carrie and I worked on, and I thank you, Carrie, for getting this into a sheet. Although you may have to print this bigger for my older eyeballs. You'll see it, it's a chart is for us to use to track for our for our purposes, who we heard, when we heard it, what was the number, kind of all in one place. What was the variance? And kind of a running operational, just for us to see. So at the end of the night of the 28th, you can see how many budgets we heard and what that money was. Again, trying to keep it transparent, but this is our worksheet, it's our committee worksheet. Make notes, do whatever you wish on here, and you'll see that planning ahead, Carrie put in the looks like this. Put in the schools we're gonna hear tonight, and the CIP that we should be hearing tonight. Okay, so you can see where we're at as we go. Not that we've approved anything, but just that we are in the review stage. So keep that for your benefit, and we'll try to keep, Carrie and I will do our best to keep it up to date as we go, so we can have it to work on. I also want to put in a kind of insert into the agenda, if you would be so kind, that I'm going to leave some room tonight prior, and I apologize to hold our presenters here any longer. I know you've already had a long day. However, I want the Budget Committee to be able to ask any questions of last time's presentations that they have at this point, so that either Lisa or Maria or Mark or Justin can get some answers for you. Don't want that to fester in your mind, say, gee, they never answered that. Gee, I wanted to ask that. Ask, and we will do our very best. Okay? So I'm gonna kind of insert that kind of, we'll put that into the agenda before we start presentations each time, if somebody's got something. Okay, any other correspondence that anyone has? I don't think there are any delegates. I think everybody's here that's supposed to be here is here. Administrative report, Superintendent.
Sure, I got 4 things to share tonight, Sue. One is involving money. 2 of them are gonna be kind of just looking ahead to the next board meeting next Thursday, if people wanted to tune in for some 2 cool features there. And one's an awesome student experience that happened across our district last week. So just want to recognize Kelly Salovich and Ken Henderson, the Director of Technology here. They were just awarded a grant upwards of very close to $250,000. That stuff is going to help us with some safety measures across our district in terms of cameras and some other communication devices. So I really wanted to express our thanks for that work, and we'll have those tools within our district at our disposal fairly shortly. In terms of next school board meeting, 2 things I wanted to tune you into. One is the first time that the board is going to start looking at drafts of warrant articles. So we're going to bring anything that we currently think in current language. Be a lot of placeholders there with figures and stuff, but at least begin talking about the subjects. And I think that this group is certainly going to want to learn about those things. In talking with Carrie, I think we're also planning, like down the road, there'll be some sessions where potentially that becomes a topic of conversation in this group when we have a joint meeting with the board as well. Also at next meeting, we're gonna have some kids come from the middle school, 6th graders. They're gonna be talking about their experience from Camp Lincoln. That's the experience that when we have all our kids come from the different towns and they get to that middle school collectively for the first time, they have kind of a 2-day experience off-site together. So maybe 4 or 5 of them are gonna be here with us that night. They'll talk about their experiences and engage with the board about how that went for them and what they would recommend for the future. In terms of awesome stuff in the district last week, Judge Joseph LaPlante, who's over in another area, geographic area of New Hampshire, volunteers his time, and he's been coming out here for a few years, and this is the first time it's been recollected after COVID. He comes in, he sits in the pack with the entire 8th grade group, and it's kind of a culmination thing for their justice unit. So the kids just got done doing some social studies work around those concepts and some English language arts work. They're reading 12 Angry Men, and the judge comes in and actually runs through a jury selection process with the entire 8th grade. It's phenomenal, and for a judge, he was really good with kids. Like, he was able to interact well, so there was question and answer sessions. They were able to understand some of the civic duty things that he spoke to. So again, just bringing the real life people into the schools, and one more lesson that we always don't have to go out. We can bring those resources in the school district. So one last plug to tune in next Thursday to listen to those kids from Camp Lincoln and to get the warrant articles, and we encourage teachers to continue to bring those resources in the school, like Judge LaPlante last week. That's all I got, Sue.
Thank you. If you'll indulge me, Mike and I need to back up a minute. We did receive some correspondence. Just to let the committee know, we received an email. It was addressed, I believe, just to Mike and I, but it might have been addressed to other people as well. And it was asking questions about expenditures for the, let's see if I can get this right off the top of my head, the 22-23 budget, the closed year, not the year we're currently in. And so that's not really a budget question, that's an expenditure question. So I forwarded it along and hope that, but it was addressed to Mike and I and perhaps to others. I just wanted to let you know that we had received that correspondence regarding expenditures.
Okay.
Okay? Hey, Mike, anything you want to add there? Does that cover it?
Did you state who it's from or no?
I don't know if I feel comfortable
Okay,
saying who
that's
it
fine.
was from. I want to
That's
protect
fine.
the author.
Good enough.
I thought they could be answered, but not by us. It's not us. Okay, reports of committees. The budget chair is clear at the moment. She's chugging along at low speed, but she's chugging along. How about CIP stuff? Either Mark or Christie, I don't know if you guys got to, that was a meeting this past, was it Tuesday?
Yeah, there was a meeting, but unfortunately I couldn't make it, so Mark.
Yeah, so,
Okay.
CIP has been meeting, we're going over some of the final recommendations, trying to triage our spending for 2024 and 2025. And some of the priority issues were boilers that are now in, the locker rooms for the middle school. We spent a good deal looking at the wall repairs and when we're going to do that and deciding an appropriate time frame, seeing as how there are not structural issues involved, but an appropriate time frame for repairing those and prioritizing some of the other bigger construction projects we have. For the next, that will be taking place over the next 3 years. It'll be about $830,000 in total. A good deal of work to do there. Under the lease that we have, next year we're prioritized the high school, the HVAC system, and that's going to be spread over 2 years, as well as the high school roof. Obviously the roof first. Atkinson Academy, the HVAC, all told, for the $25 million lease next year approximately, and these things can shift, we will be utilizing approximately $9 million from that lease. So we're starting to get the work done, but trying to be diligent as to how we prioritize it. And as Justin had alluded to, we're looking at some warrant articles. So this coming year is going to be, there are going to be some interesting things that we're going to be going to the public with, and with that in mind, we're trying to be strategic. So for example, the Atkinson Academy, the belfry needs to be replaced. The cost for that will be approximately $900,000, and after hearing the reports, this will be done in 3 phases. And so we're going to break that up in phases, taking care of the structural first next year. We are also going to be putting on the warrant article solar panels. One of the reasons we're doing that is we're going to need to educate the public. And there was a gentleman who's not exactly he's not an environmental advocate, but this gentleman said, after looking at the numbers, it would be foolish for the district not to get solar because of the payback and because of the government subsidies that are going into that right now. It will be revenue producing for us, but that will be about $3 million as well. So a lot of education that's up front. So a lot of education needs to take place. Is that enough?
Well, you added that meeting to your CIP agenda for the purpose to finalize. Did you finalize?
We did not finalize.
So you're not presenting a number tonight.
We are not presenting a number tonight.
So we need to work that
What are you
into
referring
our-
to specifically?
the presentation of the CIP and what number you are recommending go into the operating budget.
I do not have that.
So
Specific
we'll
number
need
five.
to speak to the 2 co-chairs, because they were scheduled for tonight's agenda. We added them specially tonight. We will have to move that along and I'm sorry I
Sounds
wasn't there.
No worries.
Okay, so Kerry, make note of that. We'll need to reach out to, it's Jack Sapier and Ken and find out where they are because they owe us a presentation. They were in the agenda tonight. We need to know what that number is. We'll put them in another meeting. Okay. So before we start our presentations, questions about last time's budget, anything? Sabrina, I thought you had.
I was like, I did have a couple, let me pull them up. Sorry, folks, I don't wanna delay anymore. So one on the school board budget,
School board budget.
Shoot.
other board services, 61,660, what falls into that?
Oh,
Just the
other board
general.
yes.
Lisa, are you able to kinda,
Could you tell me the code?
I asked about this and you emailed me the information and it's
It was 100,
Yeah,
I didn't hear what you said.
it was other board services, 61,660.
it's way at the end of the,
Yeah, it's at the back, yeah.
So part of that's New Hampshire School Board Association, if memory serves, thank you, Mike.
I don't think so.
No, that's
No.
in dues. If you show me the account, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I could tell you exactly
Say
where it is.
where it is in the,
I'm trying to find out.
what's the account number again, slowly?
For what is the name again?
It's
61,000.
other board services.
Other board
Board
services.
services.
That is the total of all of the 2319 lines.
They have 23,
The total of that whole function. So it's composed of the
Oh,
other
it's right here, other
services
board, this function.
and
So it adds up, see, it's right here.
Okay, so
the
that is
alpha
the
horizon.
combination
Yeah, so that's
of
all together.
I gave you
page
everything.
3.
She had it. It's all the dues all added up into each
So it's
other.
2319. It's all it's all the dues, it's the conferences, the school board conferences,
All of them added into that.
Conferences,
the
dues,
dues for the New Hampshire School Board Association.
Gotcha.
Let me see what else is here. Advertising, recruitment and legal.
Mhm.
So,
Gotcha, yeah.
And the budget committee clerk stipend. And I believe that's it. So
Awesome,
the
thank you.
dues, basically.
I do have a couple more, sorry.
Yeah, no, that's it.
The technology budget, I have two on that one.
budget.
We have $5,000 in there for virtual field trips. Is that something that's still being done?
Virtual field trips.
Virtual field trips, okay, that will be a question for Ken.
Okay.
I will get back to you on that one, I'll make sure.
Okay.
I'll get the answer for that one.
And then one other on that one was we have $66.95 for POSs for lunches. Do we provide those for Whitson's? Where they're a third
Where,
party? Do
where
we
was
do-
that, in the
system?
SOA?
Yeah,
It's our system.
Okay.
So we provide the system for Whitson's to use and to service our school district.
At our.
yeah, gotcha.
Out of our port.
Then just two more, I promise. On the SAU budget, what is the tuition reimbursement on the 40,000? Where do we pay that out to?
40,000 for tuition reimbursement.
She was listening to you talk about the stairs.
So that is a tuition reimbursement for all the non-affiliated employees, which are basically employees in the SAU. And the administrators in the district now. The administrators in the district, as you know, they became unionized last year.
Yep.
So that used to be the tuition reimbursement for them.
Okay.
That, the authorization of access that money for them that now they're in a union was not part of the negotiation of the warrant article. So one of the warrant articles that the board is gonna put in this warrant article is not a monetary one because the money is in the budget, but it's for them that now are in a union to access those funds.
Gotcha, so the verbiage to that is coming.
So basically it's the tuition reimbursement for all the non-affiliated and
Yeah.
now the portion of administrators that are affiliated.
Gotcha. One more, and I promise to be done. And this is on the SAU budget too. The school law training, $500 school law training, it says.
Yes, okay, so we have, the school board association has some trainings that are related to law or to finances or to, they have different like workshops. Some of them we have access to them with our membership, some of them are not.
Extra expenses.
So it's just education for the SAU personnel like Kelly,
Yeah, if somebody
takes
wanted to
law,
go to a
a
course or a law,
conference, or
yeah, that wasn't
Gotcha.
already covered by our
Okay.
New Hampshire
law
board.
professional development for SAU.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you for asking those questions, I appreciate, I want everybody to
Anybody got,
understand.
yep. All right,
What
you're all
is in
set,
there.
Sabrina. Anybody got anything else from those last presentations? If not,
I have a quick question.
Sure.
It's about the technology budget and the $160,000 variance over last year. Will the grant money that they just received cover any of those things?
no,
Is there
because
a way
it's
to
this year
tell?
versus next year, right?
Right.
We got
So,
money in,
I guess, you know, he mentioned that a lot of the things that were in his budget moved over from other places because the way that you've consolidated. I was hoping that I could get an outline of where those came from, so I can look at.
He used to have two budgets, two different departments under him,
Right.
and they were they reported separated, but they were technology, both of them. All what we did is put them all into one report.
Okay.
So they both were technology, but they were, for some reason, prior administration had them
Understood, I just
separated.
wasn't sure if those were coming from other places that I will see it go down somewhere else, but no, that other budget just disappeared.
Yeah, and that happened last year, in the
Right.
budget last year, we
Right.
just combined them into one.
Okay, thank you.
And the 160, just so you know, and as he explained, so every year, Ken is very organized, he has like a 5-year plan where every year he focuses on the maintenance of something before it gets up to be an emergency. So 1 year was computers, the next year is servers, the next year is phone, this year happens to be the phone
Right,
servers for the entire district, so every year is something that he takes care of.
understood.
anybody got anything else? Okay, if not, then we are ready to hear our presentations tonight. We'll start with Atkinson Academy. Steve Harris, where are you, buddy?
I am
Good
right here.
evening.
Alright, so, you know, we're really, as all five of us are sitting here together because we wanted to show that we're all working together and trying to build our budgets and really do what's best for Timberland as a whole. You know, we really kind of focused in on our strategic plan for the district, you know, student achievement, student connection, community engagement, learning environment. All four of those together as we took a look at our budget. So the Atkinson budget went up about $1,300. It represented about a 1%, just slightly more than a 1% increase over last year. And the main drivers for our Atkinson budget, modernizing learning environment. That's about $15,000, and that's taking a look at refitting 3 of our classrooms. A lot of our furniture in the classrooms is getting rather old, rather dilapidated. And some of it I think might have come with the 1803 building. You know, so we're looking at modernizing some of our classrooms at this point. It may be those traditional desks that we're all familiar with. It may be learning tables, et cetera. We're gonna see what the need is greatest for that particular year. My plan would be to do this for the next few years so that I'm replacing 3 classrooms per year. That represents a grade level for me. Hopefully, as we move forward, it'll be 1 grade level. That way after 5 or 6 years, we'll have a replacement fully for the school. So the second budget driver there is a science program called Mystery Science. It's an online program, standards-based. It aligns to our standards here in Timberland and our curriculum here in Timberland. But it also aligns to NGSS, which is the national standards as well. Great program, kind of almost I don't wanna call it plug and play, But it really has wonderful resources for teachers, all across the board, and is kind of exciting for students. Lastly, and this is something that doesn't live so much in my school budget, as much as it lives in the SAU budget, and it's taking a look at our co-curricular offering, and we're looking to increase co-curricular offerings across the board in my school, but also all of our other schools. And I'm looking to increase it by about $2,000. We have one club that's starting this year. It's gonna be a series of 4 different sessions for computer coding. Really excited about it. We're starting this year, and I'm hoping, hi Maria, I'm hoping to find a way to pay this person a stipend for this year, even though it wasn't planned. The excitement amongst the students is so high for this. I walked down with a group this afternoon of just a great group of kids jumping into that coding room, and kids that may not always participate in some of those traditional after-school activities. So it's exciting to see that more inclusive picture. And I'd like to be able to really look at that and be able to offer those experiences for our kiddos in Atkinson, and I know our other principals feel the same for their schools. So those are my big budget drivers. You notice, even though we're looking at $18,000, maybe a little bit more, and that's not good at 7:30 at night. The variance is only up about $1,300. So we are able to move things around to make that happen.
Is this 2,000 showing in this budget or in the SAU budget? In both places?
No, in the personnel budget,
So it's not in,
in that paper.
no.
No, because it's personnel,
Okay.
personnel. So if it is approved, it will go into the stipends budget.
I have a general question.
Yep, I'm just writing, sorry, go ahead, Mike.
What do we do in general with our surplus furnishings that we replace? So when you buy new furniture, what do we do with the old stuff?
With the old stuff, some of it's in a poor enough condition that we are just getting rid of that furniture. Because we are deeming it not appropriate for our school, so I wouldn't wanna necessarily just give it away to.
It's that far end of life.
A lot of it is getting really close, and it's time for a change. And we also, when we look at learning environments today, we're sitting at these great tables that are really flexible for, grouping. And if you imagine this in a second or third grade classroom, this is a quick way to just dance around and have the kids regroup for learning different situations.
Okay.
So.
We do share with each other though, so if I was getting rid of, say, some tables that we didn't need anymore, first I'd see if there was a use within my building, but then we email out. Even we get emails from the SAU, we're getting rid of these chairs and these dividers and this.
As long as they're in good condition, we're not taking,
Exactly.
already been welded 37 times.
Correct.
We're not taking them from Atkinson down to Pollard.
Right.
But I'm glad you said that, Stephanie, because we did, over the past couple of years, especially post-COVID, there was a lot of furniture purchases in COVID by schools everywhere, and we've been taking from the other schools so that we don't have these purchases.
Just following up on that, the reason for replacing the furniture, a lot of it was dated, perhaps from the 17th century, et cetera. But when you do acquire new furniture, you're reaching out to the other buildings and seeing if they want it. So it doesn't fit your need because it's antiquated enough or outdated, yet it may fit the needs of another building.
That's a good question.
And it's not meant to be a trick one. I
think as we're updating our learning environments, we're trying to create that learning space where kids wanna be. That's part of it. The other part is the equipment is getting older. You're beginning to lose not the wheels off the chairs, cause God forbid putting wheels on kids' chairs.
gym class.
Yeah, exactly. But you're beginning to have those kinds of issues with the equipment.
I follow. So if it's not suitable for Atkinson Academy, why is it then suitable for Pollard?
So it could be we have an increase in kindergarten students at our school,
Okay.
and he needs bigger chairs, so we could use the smaller chairs rather than us buying new
Yeah.
ones.
As long as those
Complete
chairs
sense.
are in good
Makes
shape.
complete
We
sense.
swap furniture like that quite a bit.
Makes sense.
They're
even
not
just like.
swapping all furniture, I mean, if it's a dangerous equipment,
It's
you're getting
gone.
rid
Oh,
of
yeah.
it, you're not offering
That's
that
what
up
he
to
said,
them.
we're not keeping the tables that have been welded
No.
37 times.
And we
Yeah.
replaced some cafeteria tables for
Right, last
this
year.
current year and got rid of them because they were
I remember the
Remember
tour with
that,
those
Mark.
tables.
Yeah.
Yes,
I do.
You went and looked at them, didn't you?
yes.
did.
Yeah.
I heard about tables.
They dared me to put my fingers in and try to close it, yes, I remember.
See
How
if I
many
can
figures do you
pinch
have
off
left
now.
now?
Hold up your hands.
I have two great chairs from Atkinson in my office. They're not dilapidated, they're not like ready to throw out, but they had so many of them and I need, so
Yep.
to Stephanie's point, it's a
Yeah,
mutual
yeah.
benefit.
Perfect,
And-
perfect.
Actually, going along with that, I have the conference room that used to be in there is now my conference room because there was updating here too.
I
I
like
think you need
those
another
chairs.
chair, Justin, actually.
Go ahead, Maria.
If I may add to that, like Justin just said, basically 2 years ago, we created our internal Timberlane Facebook Marketplace. And I encourage and keep encouraging everybody to just put out there what you have that is usable, that it doesn't have a safety issue, that is reusable. And everybody has taken into the initiative and, like, and somebody needs a whiteboard, so an email gets sent to everybody. Or I have a whiteboard that I'm no longer using, here is a whiteboard, who wants it, so that has been an initiative that we have been implementing and it goes very well, like we share a lot of these.
Talk to me a little bit more, if you can, Steve, about the K through 5. This is a science program. This is a web-based
Mysteries.
sit in front of everybody sits in front of their,
It varies, they can have an opportunity to sit in front of their Chromebook and participate in the learning. They can do a group learn where it might be projected. There's the potential for worksheets to be printed or to be used digitally. So it gives a lot of variation on what to do. It also gives the plans in the behind the scenes, if you will, for the teacher, so that he or she can, really deliver that instruction. A couple years ago in a former district, we did a lot of research. We were getting a new science curriculum, mystery science, and it's something that I think we all really, like and appreciate. Mystery science was high up on my list, but they weren't quite there yet in their development, and that was probably 5 years ago. They're there now, and really have done a great job aligning to national standards, which our standards align and curriculum aligns to that. So it is something that again, it's not plug and play, but it's that kind of piece where teachers, it's very helpful for the teachers' planning, and it's really engaging instruction for kids. They start with a question and, kind of get the kids' minds rolling on, what the concept is. Let's say they're talking about, how energy transfers or something of that nature. It gives that good hearty example and has them dive into that and learn from there.
I'm familiar with that program, but I gotta tell you, it's been a few years since I looked at the vehicle.
Yeah.
So I will go back and look at it again.
It's improved quite a bit.
I'm always looking for you saying, and there's a great hands-on program involved so that they could have a plastic beaker and an eyedropper and and they're playing. I'm a hands-on, you walked right into my web.
I actually used mystery science when I homeschooled my children, so I have pretty recent experience with it. And my kids loved it, we loved it, I thought it was very engaging, there was a lot of hands-on work. If you plan and you have the things that
If
you
you
need
use
to do
it,
it.
right.
If you use it correctly, it's a really great tool. I don't think it's everything, but it's a good tool. It was for me personally.
Anything else for Atkinson? Yes, Mark?
Will you be sharing your experiences with the other schools so that if it's as positive as you hope it is, they can look at implementing?
You might hear a little bit more mystery science going down the line here.
Okay,
We
never mind. I
definitely,
didn't mean to spill the milk
We
there.
already did that, we've been using it.
yeah,
Cool.
we definitely will. I mean, that's part of the work that I think our professionals do, is that sharing across the board of the highs and lows,
Awesome. Thank you.
Anything else for Stephen? If not, I'll listen to a motion to accept for review. Is that the terminology we decided? To accept for review the Atkinson Academy proposed at 114,477.
I will make that motion.
Mrs. Costa makes a motion, a second? Claire makes a second. You understand what we're doing? We're accepting the budget for our review. Doesn't mean we won't call you back, or we have other questions, either we go through our office or come back to you.
I have a quick question about the mystery science. So you said, you know, I mean, of course, everything has to be used correctly. Is there a, like, online workshop, something that can help the teachers become, you know, familiar with it so they can?
It's pretty, so.
It's a pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah, I think we've used it throughout the district, but I think in different ways. So for some, like our innovation teacher has used it a lot in our school, where in some of the other schools, the homeroom teacher has used it. So I think one thing we're looking at across, we've been actually concentrating on science curriculum, looking at this past summer, a group got together and looking at how do we consistently use it and what are the best methods. So what are some of the supplies you need to be able to do some of the lessons and how best to incorporate it within, you know, our regular curriculum.
And you found that the teachers are pretty, it's
Yeah,
pretty adaptable, like they're
self-explanatory,
not.
you know, and it's not, you know, like just projected and, hey, it's teaching and I'm sitting back. It's very interactive, but it's very laid out, and to Steve's point, getting to Sue's questions, it's advanced a lot over the last couple of years, so it's like great teacher guides and great instruction as to like what to pre-teach, what, you know, prior knowledge students will have.
And that's important that, you know, it gives that background information to the teacher, like this is what the kid should know at this point in order to move forward with this. And it is so much better than it used to be.
Yeah, and it has things so like you could do this at kindergarten, and we could relate to this in first grade and this in second.
Very cool. Do we have the supplies needed, or is that built into this number to get the supplies to do it?
It's not built into the number. I think the supplies are fairly minimal, and something that we would be having in our science budgets anyway.
Okay.
Anybody else? If not, I'll call for a vote. All those ready to approve the acceptance of this for review? Looks like it's unanimous. Opposed? Abstain. So, thank you very much, Steve. Appreciate it. And then we are on to Danville. Mr. Snyder.
You'll hear some similar themes like Steve referenced, if you look at our slide. So our variance is $1,748 from last year to this year, or this proposed budget. Similar drivers, our first one is about enhancing school safety. We put that at $1,200. I'm thrilled to hear that we have this grant, and that's new news to me, so I don't know if that will impact any of this, but just to give you an idea, we have obviously current like walkie-talkies that we use throughout our building. And the things that are attached to those, the batteries, have a shelf life. So what we're finding is that the walkie-talkie is still usable, it just doesn't hold a charge anymore. So replacement costs for those things are there. We have our emergency bags. Every one of our staff members has one in their classroom space or their instructional space. There are materials that need to be updated. Batteries for flashlights, for instance, are a resource that you need to pay attention to and make sure that they're in working order. Things like that. And so we're adding that because, again, I don't know if the grant that has been talked about this evening will impact any of that. But it's just, if we were to take the working system that we have now and continue to use it next year, it's going to need some of those costs associated with keeping it up to date. Okay. The second bullet is about what Mr. Harris has talked about already, modernizing learning environment, furnishings and resources. That's not just strictly classroom spaces. When we're talking about learning centers and Unified, I can't say my words very well tonight, sorry. Our Unified Arts team, their spaces are just as important as classroom spaces. So when we're looking at collectively, there are a number of things that are wearing out, and I know we've answered some of those questions about what we do with furniture that is at its end of life kind of thing. But we're focused on replacing what needs to be replaced, and then also modernizing things in the sense that we talk a lot about things like flexible seating. The standard chair, desk, or table works in some capacity, but you may need other more comfortable, attractive kinds of things for students. If you're gonna encourage students to read, independently, it's nice at our own home. If you think about where you would choose in your home to read a book, right, it's probably not in a hardwood chair or plastic chair at a table. So we're not looking to make like a living room set up in all of our classrooms, but we might make a corner in a classroom more comfortable. We might have some different seating options for students and things like that. So you'll see that that's a big number. $11,150 is a big number. Again, our variance is a lot smaller than that, so we've looked closely at places where we've underspent, so we can reallocate resources that way to funnel money there. And then our third bullet point, it's identical to what was in Atkinson's presentation. Again, this is not part of our budget, it's part of the personnel budget. But we're asking for an increase in the stipends to $2,000 so that we can increase the number of extracurricular opportunities for our students. An example that comes to mind, this is not something that's on the table, but in a previous school that I worked in, one of our staff members was very adept at crocheting and just brought in by chance some stuff that she had put together, and some of the students really were drawn to that, and so organically this crocheting club developed. And it was a really neat experience to watch the staff members share some of their skills and really pass that along. So we're looking for opportunities like that. So I would envision this being something that could happen maybe before school, after school, that would be interest-based kinds of options for our staff to offer to our students. So it would be educational, but it may not be, reading, writing, math, those kinds of things only, but it would be those well-rounded kinds of experiences.
Questions for Chris?
I don't have a question per se, but more informational. Danville did come to the PTA last year and try to use the annual staff gift given to the staff every year from the PTA to do these emergency bags. Because they did need them replenished and restocked, so collectively they were going to give their staff gift that they get up, and to get that, unfortunately, it doesn't fall into the criteria of what the PTA can do. But just for informational purposes, like they felt that they needed that to an extreme that collectively the staff agreed to give that gift up, so.
Anybody? If not, I'll listen to a motion to accept for review the proposed budget from Danville Elementary of 96,316.
I will make a motion to approve for review of Danville's budget.
I'll second.
Terry, did you get both of those? Any other questions or concerns? If not, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor? Looks unanimous. Opposed? Abstain.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, Chris, for your time. Moving on to Paul at school. Ms. Lafreniere, how are you this evening?
Good. Well, first, thank you for your support last year. As last year is my first year, so when I came into the budget process last year, I was, trying to decipher what we needed, and it was kind of hard going back because we had been through COVID. So I think the budget years weren't a true reflection of the typical year. So now, having gone through a whole year in my school, seeing what we needed, I have a better sense of how to kind of reallocate some of the funds that we have currently. So you'll see mine is actually a slight decrease of $1,021. I could be coming back next year, and I'm basically gonna have them test out all these new furniture ideas, and then I'm gonna pick and choose and see what works. I'll be curled up in a corner reading a book and be like, yeah, I'll take 2 of these. No, but seriously, I think there were some needs last year really for some more manipulatives and curriculum materials, and especially coming back from COVID, it was like, let's get some things kids can interact with. So we spent a lot of our funds on those things, where I think things have been budgeted for more programs and stuff in the past, and we don't have that need. So we're able to reallocate some of that. So in my budget drivers, you see, first of all, really wanting to develop a school leadership team and have that to be a stipend position, just a small stipend. So right now, we're looking at using some funds at the SAU budget level, or not SAU, sorry, but the district level budget. Just trying to pay people to have a commitment to help make some of the leadership decisions and get a better sense of, you know, not just being administration, trying to work with staff meetings, but have a team that can develop some ideas, you know, test some ideas, bring that to the staff meeting, help kind of lead the school in the right direction. So that is not an ad, it's just kind of reallocating some of that money at the district level. For replacement of equipment and furniture, again, I'm not looking to do a full replacement. Really trying to, we've kind of shuffled things around as we've shuffled. Some of our enrollment at different grade levels has shifted, so we will see how we go through this year and really actually look and see what the other schools are using. We'll see, Laura's got some ideas for some of her unified arts furniture that we'll be strongly looking at, and consider that for the next year. But we have had in previous budgets in my school funds allocated to swap out some of the furniture. So basically, that was already kind of a plan and we'll maintain that. Kidney-shaped tables are a big thing for teachers to be able to work in small groups and be close and be able to work with the students interactively. So I already have built into my budget to get 2 more of those, which we need. I was able to move some funds around. I'm gonna get in a cycle. We're starting to be in the need, as Steve was, for new cafeteria tables, but some of ours are newer than others. So I'm just gonna probably do 1 a year for the next few years and continue on that cycle. Meeting the curriculum and supply needs, again, we really focused a lot on getting manipulatives last year. We're doing a lot of different assessing our curriculum across really all the curriculum areas. So we're just really reallocating some of the funds that we have, so nothing major. We already have mystery science built into our budget, so that is a plus. And
Any questions for Paula's school? If not, I'll entertain a motion to accept for review the proposed budget of 130,617. Liz will make the motion, a second. Sabrina? Any other questions or concerns? Remember, after you've had a chance to study the worksheets in a little bit more detail, always come back and have questions answered either here at our level or ask any of these principals to give us some answers. Come back if we need them. Okay, we ready to vote? All those in favor? That looks unanimous. Opposed? Was abstained. Thanks, Kit. Thank you very much, Stephanie.
thank you guys, appreciate your support.
Moving on to Sandown Central. Kim Rivers is our early childhood coordinator, so welcome.
Yes, thank you. And thanks for letting us come tonight. You know, I first want to say something that Steve started off with. You're gonna see pieces of his drivers in each one of ours. Even though it's not there physically, it's all something that we have been talking about as a, you know, just administrative group at the elementary level. And I know, you know, Sandown Central is a little bit smaller and we're unique in that we have, you know, some students from the whole district, some students just at Sandown, but we really are, like, they're really including me as part of that elementary principal piece. We really are working on making sure that all kids have a really cohesive and a really like similar experience no matter which elementary school they're at. So I just wanted to share that with everybody because it's been a refreshing feel, like coming into, you know, just coming into the district and just working with a really great group of people. And, you know, Laura and I have really been working to make sure the 2 Sandown schools are together. So it's not just like 2 schools, but we're a community, you know, and to that end, one of our kindergarten teachers is on her leadership team because even the curriculum needs of, you know, kindergarten is more aligned with, you know, 1st through 5th grade. And we don't really need that so much the preschool and pre-K piece. So I just wanted to let everybody know that we really are working together, even to the point about the furniture beforehand. We've been able to share some dividers with some of the schools, and over the summer, I did a lot of unearthing things in the building and really found a lot of resources that we were even able to reallocate within our building, so we didn't have to buy a lot of new materials and manipulatives. So to that end, when I looked at the budget, I kind of looked at really, okay, what do our learners need here? And they need more things that match their developmental and even their size level because they are so young. So some of the furniture needs to be replaced just because we have some kids that are smaller than some of the 4th and 5th graders that were previously there, and we still have some of those larger chairs. The playground is really one of the areas that I really wanna focus on, and I don't want people just to think about it as kids are using it at recess, but really at this early childhood level, there's so much that's going on out there as far as like social navigation, how to share things, how to make friends, how to go into play. And not all kids wanna swing or like go on the playground equipment. Some kids being outdoors and, writing on an outdoor chalkboard, like that's gonna be great for them and they can work with their peers on that piece. So it's some of that equipment to really meet a wide array of learners and a wide array of just kind of motor interests that I'm really looking at. And you can see that the variance is only $392, which like Steve said earlier, doesn't match those two numbers if you put them up there, but I was able to move some pieces around. One of them was looking at, field trips. Well, we're right in the middle of Sandown, so we have a walking field trip to the fire station coming up. One of our preschool teachers has someone who knows someone who is a state trooper, and they're coming to the school, for community service month. So we're really looking, to Justin said, like either bringing people in or using what's right around us. So there's really not a need for those more out of district field trips, so I was able to move some of that money around.
Questions? I noticed we're back to calling it Sandown Central, not TLC at Sandown Central. I just wanted to.
Synonymous, right?
Our sign says TLC.
Right.
I thought originally TLC stood for Learning Center, but then the sign says Timberlane Learning Center. And when I went to do our staff handbook and our parent-student handbook, it was like in 3 different places, like 3 different ways. So I am up for whatever.
In
like
town, we
Fun
call
Town,
it,
I'm not sure.
it's interchangeable, we all kind of understand.
Right.
Or the old school version.
The old school. And it houses.
So we have
District?
3-year-olds for the whole district. So students who are coming from either early supports and services who need an IEP provided by the district, or parents who want to tuition their students into a preschool program. We are it. Then when those 3-year-olds turn 4, if they live in Sandown, they stay at Sandown, or they go to the pre-K classes at the other elementary schools.
At their towns.
Exactly. And one of the other pieces I've been able to do in this position is make sure that if I'm getting something from my pre-K teachers, that I'm also checking in with the other pre-K teachers as well to see if it's a resource that they would want, which I think was one of the reasons for creating this position, so that there was kind of that cohesiveness, not only for like the kids transitioning, but also families that are transitioning. They have kind of one more year with kind of the same face, sitting on IEP team meetings. And then we have kindergarten for Sandown there as well.
You house Sandown's kindergarten, the district's 3-year-olds.
Yep.
And Sandown's
Sandown's,
4-year-olds,
4-year-olds
with a few
pre-K.
exceptions.
Yep. Yeah, with a few exceptions.
So whatever you call it, TLC at Sandown Central or Sandown or the old school, which,
Most of us just call it Central. That's
Yeah.
around
all
town.
right, fine.
First school.
That
First
building,
Kim's place.
Kim's house. If there are no other questions,
I have a quick question. So you guys keep talking about bringing these resources in. Are we kind of like shying away from field trips, leaving the school?
Well, think of if you just think about TLC, Sandown Central, whatever you want to call it.
Whatever.
Our preschoolers, it really like putting them on a bus to bring them to a museum.
I get like the younger kids.
Right, and same thing with our kindergartners.
It seems like in the other budget too, like that's where the decrease was. There's a decrease in like student activities, and so I'm just curious, are you finding more value of bringing the resources in instead of
Like in my school, it was
outsourcing?
kind of an all or nothing, like there were some grade levels that weren't going on field trips. And I think some of it was, kind of pre-COVID, they were, and they just kind of stopped. So for instance, they used to have somebody from the Washington Observatory come in and just present, and obviously like they're not gonna all go there, but so I think bringing in more of those presenters, and I think based on COVID, there's more people presenting. There's a lot of people that started online and now they're going to the schools. But definitely I'm trying to get more field trips too, because I think getting kids out and seeing things and touching
agreed.
things in different communities.
Yeah, and there's that mix, between doing in-house trip, or in-house speakers and then going out.
Yeah.
But yeah, and Kim.
So you still see a
taking
value in
little
that.
Yeah, but so
tiny
I
roads on
remember.
a field trip, no thank you.
So again,
We
like
could
looking
do it.
across, so like the stipend increase that we're talking about, we basically talked as a group with Justin about making, like mine was 4,000, theirs was 2,000, so we said we should all be 4,000 and offering all those opportunities. Same with field trips, it was like TLC was the same as Pollard. I have, 6th grade levels traveling around, and she's got like, I'm not gonna send all my preschoolers somewhere, so I think it's just reallocating. I think some things were put in evenly, that shouldn't be, and there's some things that
Yeah,
weren't
you
even
have-
that should be.
Yeah, you have to
So.
look at the environment of the building. It's
Yeah.
really unfair to say that, not that I don't want you all to have a lot of money, I
Yeah.
do. But, the needs of a 5th grade field trip.
Right.
When you want them out of the building.
Yeah,
A little
I think the
different than a
option-
3-year-old.
Over there, we go to Mount
On a
Major,
bus
that's
that you
longer
can't get
trip,
up
it
into the
costs
seat.
more, where kindergarten might be going to the apple orchard down the
Right.
street.
Right.
So.
I think the options for our field trips and the speakers that we bring in have changed so dramatically over the past few years. You know, it's great, like we have firemen coming in next week, we have, the state trooper idea is a wonderful idea, and I think that would be a great spot to lean into, and those would be free items, whereas traveling to, I don't know, where do we go, one of the mountains, there's no cost to hike the mountain, but the bus transportation there is
Yeah,
steep.
you have to weigh that off to decide if
Right.
that's a valuable lesson, what the learning
also-
values are.
We're also limited in terms of timing, if we're using first student transportation, we have to be, back by a certain amount of time because the same buses that are getting our kids back have to run the middle and high school students home first before our schools are dismissed. So, there are other options, it's not that we can't look at other transportation avenues, but the one that's the easiest for us to work with also
Yeah.
puts a limitation on how far we can realistically go with students, so. But we are definitely encouraging field trips, it's not, we're not opposed to that.
Any other questions for Kim? If not, I'll listen to a motion to accept for review the Sandown Central TLC budget proposed at let's get this right, 38,315.21 cents. Catherine rather, sorry. Makes the motion, Mark's doing the second. Any other questions? If not, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor? Looks unanimous. Opposed? Abstaining. Thank you very much, Kim. Nice meeting you. I hadn't met you before. A little thick. And we are down to the last school, way down there on the other end, Sandtown North with Laura, is it Yasek? Yasek. With her budget, so.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Being a new principal at Sandown North this school year, it was really important for me to spend some time with the staff and kind of hear from them what the needs are in the building, while also alongside looking at the budget that Ms. Stafford had presented last school year. And also collaborating with this team has been amazing. I will piggyback on what Kim said. For both of us being new to the district, they have really embraced us, and having those conversations prior to developing budgets was really important. So it's really important to me to get all facets and all information from kind of everyone, to be able to come up with these drivers that I think are really important for Sandown North for next school year. So Sandown North, we are in good shape with our furniture. There are just a couple of areas that feedback from teachers were priorities. One in particular is the classrooms. We have 9 spaces where there is a need for kidney tables. I think Stephanie mentioned kidney tables. Those are tables that teachers use for small group instruction when they're bringing kids to a small area to provide that instruction, close proximity, shaped just like you would think a kidney bean, right? The teacher is right there in the center. They have accessibility to the students closely and can provide that small group instruction for students. It's really important for classroom teachers, and we have a lot of classes and spaces that don't have those, and so they are a priority for our teachers to be able to use. So I have 9 classroom kidney tables budgeted in there for next school year. 2 other areas, talking with teachers, we have a new art teacher to the elementary school this year, and a new innovations teacher. And when talking with them in their learning spaces for students, they are part of our unified arts team, and they service students from 1st grade up to 5th grade. And when looking at the art classroom, the tables are really great for that workspace for art, but the student chairs that they're using, they're a one-size-fits-all chair for the students. And so stools for students, adjustable stools are most appropriate in art classroom, so that they can adjust for the size of the students, like I said, 1st through 5th grade. And then our innovations classroom, looking at the innovations classroom and talking with our teacher, she currently has large folding tables set up in our space where she has 8 students around these folding tables. There's really no floor space for students to work in an innovative classroom. Sometimes there's small group time on a small table, and sometimes they really want to move the furniture and have the kids on the floor creating things. And so speaking with the innovation teacher, we talked about 6 round tables that are on wheels, so they can be moved out of the area when the kids want to use the floor space, and we come with stackable stools for students to sit on, so they're adjustable for kids 1st through 5th grade, no matter their size, but can be stacked and moved out of the way if they want to use the floor space. So it really enhances the learning environment in those 2 spaces, meets the needs of all kids 1st through 5th grade in those spaces, and it makes for a great learning, engaging space for kids. So I really update those 2 spaces. And I did already get a kidney table from this one, so it was 10, so now it's 9.
So this is how she got the kidney table. We had one where the legs were broken, so a kindergarten teacher was just using it to be very low. However, it didn't meet the needs of her current staff. So Bob Copson took legs off of another kidney-shaped table that was broken, and we put them on the small one, and then we sent it up to Laura. So we really are
happy teacher.
kind of using all resources, yep.
And you have enough floor space for those kidneys? Because I know that real estate the footprint is a challenge there.
We do, and our teachers are really creative in that space too, right? And they really wanna do what's best for kids, what makes the most sense for them, and those kidney tables, I mean, they are a hot commodity with classroom teachers because it just makes the most sense for small group instruction.
As much as things change, kidney-shaped tables,
A teacher just needs a
all
laminator and a
school,
kidney
gang.
shaped table and they're very happy.
Oh, and I do have to put a little caveat for the kidney tables. These friends at the table might ask for some down the road. The ones that we're looking at do have dry erase on the top. And so the teachers can really have the kids writing with the dry erase markers, wiping off, so it's not bringing the clipboards to the table. They
We're using
really
contact
are.
paper for now?
Yep, they're really just, they're drawing and writing and creating right there on their space with their teachers.
I know, I just got some, my kids wrote on them with it, anyway.
They wrote
And we scrubbed them off. Kidney tables are still in vogue, glad to hear. Anyone have any other questions for Laura tonight?
I would like to see us sit around 2 or 3 kidney tables at the next FUDCOM meeting.
Bring your kidneys. If not, I'll entertain a motion to accept for review.
I'll make that motion to accept the Sandown North proposed budget of $116,296.24.
I'll second that.
have that, Karen. Any other questions? If not, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor? Unanimous, opposed, abstaining. Thank you very much. Thank you for coming.
Your support.
We do have one more
Slide.
slide to go over.
That's right, thank you. See, Stephanie keeps us.
We'll keep it brief.
No problem.
Just as a practice where we talked about that we're collaborating together, we also thought that, you know, we're sharing a lot of ideas for the future amongst us. And so it would be good to get that out to you guys, so you can hear our thoughts, so when we come next year, it's like, oh, I remember them talking about that might be a need. So I think we've shared, you know, some things that we might be looking at, but collectively, some things we might be looking at in the future. And I'll speak to it, but feel free to jump in, guys. One is looking at maybe having permanent substitutes, like one per each building. As you know, substitutes are really hard to get. Many districts have moved to a school having a permanent sub, so it's basically got another teacher on staff. So if there is a person absent, that is the first person to go to, and it's nice and consistent for the kids, somebody they know, somebody we can count on to be there. They can be part of our staff meetings, our curriculum discussions, and be up to snuff on everything that we're doing. So, you know, it's something definitely to strongly consider. We see those positions listed all the time. It's nice, sometimes it's a career starter for some people, so sometimes you get people like right out of school and eager to learn all the different grade levels. Sometimes you get people with experience, so it's just a variety of applicants you might get, but it would be really nice for us to have that permanent person that we could count on, and again, they'd be trained on all our safety drills and all our curriculum and be a permanent fixture within our building. So that would be great to consider. Another thing is lunch and recess monitors for each building. Currently, the structure is when the students have lunch and recess, that's when the teacher has their lunch, or sometimes they have a duty. The way it's currently structured is a teacher can't do more than like 1 or 2 recess or lunch duties a week. So you can imagine that's a lot of inconsistency for the students during that time. That's a time where students are maybe struggling socially or, you know, behaviorally. It's a lot of transition and moving parts. So we would love to have people that we could hire just dedicated for, you know, probably 3 hours of the day to just come in and consistently have the same protocols and process for our lunchroom and for our recess. They'd know the kids over the years too, you know. So that would also allow for our teachers to have that time to collaborate. They're, you know, always trying to chase after each other. Oh, I want, you know, a teacher wants to go touch base with the special ed para or the teacher, or, you know, collaborate with the unified arts teacher on a project and touch base. So that would, instead of just having their 22-minute lunch, it would give them, you know, another 20 minutes or so to be able to run around, maybe actually go to the bathroom, you know, and touch base and do things. But I think most importantly, that consistency for our students would be greatly appreciated. Again, when we have staff absent, you know, there's just a lot of different people in and out. So for students, it's like, wait, you let me play basketball yesterday, now you're saying we gotta go over here, or, you know, all of that could be avoided. And then the last thing is continuing to update and replace playground equipment. Some of us with various grade levels, like myself, we have pre-K to 5th grade. Just trying to look at our structures and, you know, try to isolate maybe an area just for pre-K, so that they can have, you know, a little set place to play that no one else is going on. Looking at what are some of the needs for our 5th graders. You know, trying to look at our fields and maybe even, you know, look at like some fencing options and things like that to kind of separate spaces. We're trying to, this year we have in my school 5th and kindergarten out at the same time at recess, which was, oh my gosh, what are we gonna do? And the little friendships that are forming are awesome. We have one student, my assistant principal went over to and she's like, what did you want somebody to play with? He's like, I'm reffing. He was like reffing the 5th graders, and another one was keeping score, and, you know, kids are learning how to tie their shoes from some of the 5th graders. And so we want to have those opportunities, but when we have them out there all at the same time, they're kind of going towards the same structure. So we'd like to look at ways to differentiate and meet some of the physical needs of some of our students too. So some of the students with some special needs, trying to build in some accommodations that aren't just like isolated over here, but are more incorporated in the whole structure. So there's things you guys wanna add.
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I have a question about the first one, the permanent subs.
Mhm.
I don't have the answers, that's why I'm asking. So how frequent would, if I say in school in general, would you have a sub? Once a week,
Every
once a
day?
day?
Once a day.
Daily.
I'd say on average right now, I have 3 to 4 staff members out a day, and I'm lucky if I can get 1 sub in.
Yeah.
So we're subbing, so it's like, oh, you have that free period, do you mind doing that?
So the concept of this sounds good because the person will be a floater. Is the skill set that you'd be looking for this permanent sub be different than a sub?
Yeah, I mean, I think number one being able to be across the grade levels, being able to be across the content areas. So, you know, flexible in that regard.
It's also worked two different ways in a lot of districts, Mike. There are, to Stephanie's point, there are people that are getting into the profession and it's a good entry level for them. So potentially it's a certified teacher that's coming in but can't find a job as a teacher yet. Or it's somebody that is already working kind of in our schools or has a dedication to the community and just wants to have a home base and doesn't want to have to get onto a sub list and look, and I'm in this school this day, a different school this day, maybe not a school on Wednesday, but I'm at the high school on Thursday. So again, to Stephanie's point, that person gets ingrained into the culture of that school and there's
No,
just.
I see the benefits.
Yeah, it's huge.
Most of our current subs right now are, you know, kind of retirement, just looking to work part-time, maybe watch the grandkids 2 days a week, but can sub 3 days a week. So we hardly ever get somebody who can devote 5 days.
So is the cost a lot less for a daily sub versus?
Yeah.
They benefits.
And the other nice thing, I've seen, you know, many people who have been a long-term sub, and then the school hires them when there's a position that opens, so like they've seen their work. You know, it's kind of nice to build that capacity too.
It's a year interview, right?
Yeah. And it's a year of them figuring out what team they'd work best with, where they'd fit.
This isn't a new idea. I mean, philosophically, as educators, we can talk for a long time about the great idea of having a permanent sub be part of your building. So everybody can say, oh, hi, Mrs. Sherman, or hi, Mrs. O'Connell, or hi, Mrs. Costa. Everybody knows her and hopes, oh, I hope she's not in my room today. But
I started as a permanent sub as a
Yeah.
intensive needs teacher, so
Yeah.
I am all for that.
It's a
And when I
philosophy.
retire, I'll probably re-up my certification.
Nice.
Come on back, we got some openings.
Yeah.
There's a spot for you right
Liz and
now.
I are both shaking our head.
We could add it now if you want.
I was gonna sign you up
We're
now.
open to it.
I think we could probably walk in, Liz, if you're in.
I know.
I mean, honestly, the need is now for these things, but we're trying to be, you know, knowing there's a teacher contract and all that we wanna support, so we're trying to be.
I did want to point out to you, use your CIP opportunity as you're continuing to want to replace larger ticket items like playground pieces of equipment. The CIP is there for that. Let that committee help you work that into a budget that might not be part of your building budget, might be a warrant out, I mean, there are other opportunities. Don't forget to use your CIP opportunities. Don't let that go by and say, you didn't ask for anything. Why not?
Right.
Ask. Anything else?
I have one
Yes, Liz.
question. As I was scanning through all of your budgets and been doing this for a while, I noticed that the operating building services on everybody's budget, the men budgeted for about 4,000 and you ladies did a great job at around 1,000.
Oh, boy.
But I'm not quite sure what that is versus why it wouldn't be put in facilities.
You have to sharpen your pencil.
Where are you, Liz?
It's at the end, it's like the next to the last.
Operating building services.
That's it.
Oh, it's 2620.
It's 20. And I just didn't know why that didn't fall into facilities versus, or is it just building specific?
So each of the schools have, that's just basically custodial supplies.
Okay, so like the
mops,
The mops and stuff.
Yeah.
So what, all right,
Anyways,
so,
So we buy them for the district wide, but each of the schools, because each of the lead custodians submits their orders
okay,
to the supervisor of facilities.
okay.
So it's more like a system where they each lead custodian has the responsibility of ordering for his school.
Okay, all right.
So it's more as a custodian
Well,
lead
yeah,
system.
I just needed to wrap my head around it, but I'm sure why the men need more than the girls.
The buildings are cleaner now.
Oh.
Don't know.
Dirtier.
Yes. Yeah, I just. Thank you for coming in.
Before you go though,
Thank you, guys.
before you go, regarding your lunch and recess monitors, have you reached out to parent volunteers to help with these things? I know at Sandown North, we had a crew of people that were there, there were volunteers there every day before COVID. We were shelving in the library.
Laminating for teachers.
Yeah, and I know post-COVID, things are a bit different, but if you can really reach out, there are stay-at-home parents and grandparents that want to be involved.
Actually started in the last 2 weeks, we've had people starting to come and help organize activities on our playground. So it's not a duty supervision as much as it is, hey, like I'm willing to coordinate kickball or other activities.
Just having another adult in the room, even if they're not on duty, is helpful.
Quite literally, I typed about that line this afternoon on a document that I'm gonna be sending out to some of the Atkinson, or to our Atkinson families, because
It's been great.
you know, it's a great use of a volunteer, and you know, some people are available during the day, and you know, what a great experience for them to come in and not only be with their kids, but also just be with the kids. It's so much
Also
fun.
know who's with your kids all day.
Yeah.
You know, it's
Sure.
important, so.
We've definitely talked about like a blend, you know, maybe have a consistent person, but then have some volunteers.
Well, to that point, like the way Danville, for instance, has done it is it's a structured day and time, so like on Monday at 11 o'clock, right? So the kids know like at that time, this is who's coming, right? And so it does give them that consistency, so they've done it each day by a time slot that people could do, that they could fill. And then so the kids know on like Thursday, this person's coming in at this time and, you know, they play football, right? So it does, they give them that consistency too by giving that set, you know, scheduled time.
Nice.
We're also thinking it might be something like our bus drivers, a lot of them do it, like they do the bus to be like with their kids and it's another job they could maybe do during the day, it's still part of our school.
Just one fast question, and this may actually be for Maria, just looking back to Danville, under custodial supplies, a snow blower. Wouldn't that, I would think that would be under a different budget line, or maybe I'm mistaken.
Yeah, so some of these lines are facilities lines that we put under here, but Carl actually budgets for them. So it's because they have the school code, so we know where location
Plug
the
it.
item is going, but that's.
Okay, so that's not their budget,
They're
so
like
okay.
music, you know how music, sometimes the band stuff is
Right,
Kurt budgets for it, but it's part of the high school because the code for the high
Understood.
school triggers it to be part of the.
Understood, okay.
That's something that is on the facilities, but because it has the code for the school, makes it
Perfect.
filters through this budget. I actually got a response for I don't know who asked for the virtual trips, virtual field trips. So what that is used for is sometimes like biology class, they zoom in like with the aquarium in Miami and they have a whole presentation about the animals with the aquarium.
Yeah.
So that's what that $5,000 is for, to pay for the resources of having the kids.
Or an author in
Author
Montana.
visits.
Yeah, I've seen that,
And they,
yeah.
and they have a two-way conversation and everybody sits around and speaks to the author. Those are paid things that happen. And that's in the tech budget, not in their building budgets.
Gotcha.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you guys.
We'll finish up our work for the night. So Carrie, we're gonna slide questions up.
Alright, thank you.
Our next meeting is the 28th at 7 o'clock. I'm sorry, 26, did I say 28? 26, I'm sorry. And we need to track down the CIP. I'm a little concerned that we fit it into the agenda, Carrie and I did, and they're not here. And they don't have a final number, I think we need to know why we're expecting them tonight. So, it's not your fault. If there's nothing else, then I'm,
So coming up at that presentation,
what's the,
yeah,
who's coming up in that?
high school, yes,
Is it
Music, athletics, high school, middle school, and if
maybe
CIP's ready, CIP,
high school, middle school, music,
athletics.
isn't it? Big
These are-
budgets.
Yeah, these now we're, they're servicing a lot more students. We're getting towards those bigger numbers coming in. So Carrie and I will add what we're at right now and show that on our little table chart. Study away, ask the questions. Liz asked a very good question about those custodial supplies. Ask that kind of stuff. You don't understand why every
I
building.
didn't know, I was confused.
Why do they all order their own mops? Good question.
Because the reports are formatted to pull for that school.
I
had a question about, you know how before we had talked about some of the.
Hang on a minute.
I had a question about, before we talked about some of the, like, if you're signed up for this reading program through the library, instead of paying 4 different schools to do it, there's a district-wide one. The science curriculum thing that they're talking about, is there a way to look into having it for the whole district and be in that budget instead and a lower cost possibly?
The mystery science, can already look into it, and it's not, it doesn't make a difference for volume, they don't have a
Doesn't.
volume discount.
They don't have, it's not gonna save us any money.
It's a package, and it's just the package that you buy for that school, but if you buy five different schools, the price doesn't.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, if we're
They
gonna
can't share it.
commit to that, if we're gonna commit to that way of delivering science education, then we should offer it in all 4 or 5 of our elementary programs. Are we agreed? I mean, that's not our choice, that's a school board's choice and curriculum committee's choice, but
There should be parity, without a doubt. It's not a full curriculum though, it's a supplement. It's a tool.
But if it's a useful tool, it should be readily accessible.
But she's saying
Right.
not in
Yeah.
curriculum necessarily, but in, okay, that's good to know.
we don't want haves and have-nots. We discussed that last year about cameras and microphones and digital things, overhead projectors. We wanna make sure that we are offering at a budget level money for all of the schools to have that kind of.
And Catherine, what I've learned since being here is I think Maria and her team have worked on that for the last years and continually trying to fix things.
Yeah, that's what I
Put
noticed
things
that
under
they had
larger
been,
umbrellas
yeah.
and
Yeah.
being thoughtful
I think
about
that also extends into like other things, like, even like wax museums and like and this is kind of off topic, like, I don't like that all the schools are, that some schools are offering like the wax museum, or which used to be a very big traditional thing, and like in Danville, like Danville may not be offering it, but Atkinson's doing it. Or, there used to be a unity with that as well, so that's not even like really curriculum based, that's everything in the budget, but there are certain things that some schools are missing out on that used to be more traditional, that some schools are doing, and now, just being a part of, let's say, the Danville school, you no longer have that option for whatever reason. Like, it would be nice if they could get those traditions to be more unified across the schools too, in elementary school, especially for the kids who have older siblings who had watched them do it. And all of a sudden they're going, well, how come we don't get to do that? Or, and it's kind of disappointing.
So if I can say something with that, we obviously have 5 new principals at these schools.
Of course, and that's.
Some of them are part of the community, some of them are not. So input like that, I think is very important, and I will encourage you all to share, you all that have been here for years and that have had those experiences, share them with them, because they don't know.
Yeah.
Right.
I would
Right,
encourage
there are
that, 'cause
things that they don't know, and I'm pretty sure that if you bring it up, they will be like, oh, really? Okay, let's get together and see what used
And
to
there's
be.
definitely been situations like that for sure, where they just don't know, you know, like traditional field trips and, you know, stuff like that, but-
Atkinson lip sync.
We're
Which is-
doing it.
Yeah, no, which is a huge deal, and I went 4 years because I had some nephews and nieces that went to Atkinson. Those kids look forward to that all year long at the PAC. It's different than having it in your school gymnasium. I mean, they make a big deal out of it being in the PAC, so just getting that uniformity of
But I think
opportunity.
the school autonomy too is key, and they
I'm
are the
saying
principal
not
of their
doing it
own
together.
schools.
Oh, yeah,
When Steve started, he's
Oh,
a
that's true,
principal
too.
also, he made a point to meet with the PTA and other parents to see like, what are important things about this school community? And like we mentioned, cause coming from the school he came to, maybe Halloween parties are not popular there, you know what I mean, like certain schools, different things, but that's like a priority in this community. And so he did make a point, like some of the things he couldn't do at the time because of COVID, of course, but they're coming back because he did take the time to meet with. So I think that if like your PTA or your group of parents reach out to whichever, you know, school or principal and say, well, we used to do this, it's an important part of our school community, when can we expect for it to come back, if at all, or is something else going to be in its place? I think that what they don't know, you know, and then I've noticed also you'd say like, well, maybe it's a fourth grade thing, but some of those fourth grade teachers might not have been fourth grade teachers there at the time.
Which there's a lot of new stuff.
And we have a lot of new staff too, so, you know, sometimes it's just that reaching out that like, hey, my 5 other kids did this, and whatever a reasonable amount of kids is. And then, yeah, sorry, and, or my 2 other kids did this, and like, am I gonna be expecting that in the future, you know, it could be something, you know, that comes back.
Yeah.
I think those are conversations that I could have.
If there's no other budget business to come before us, then I'm gonna call this meeting at 8:28. Thank you very much. Good night, Tim Elaine.